Welcome back to The Explainer. Okay, I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're going to dive into a deeply fascinating spiritual framework for overcoming life's trials. We're pulling today's explainer directly from a really emotive source transcript titled God's Message Now. And look, whether you come from a deeply spiritual background or you're just, fascinated by the mental models people use to navigate hard times, there is so much rich, structured guidance to unpack here. The source material lays out a very specific blueprint for finding inner peace. So let's jump right in.
It's a heavy question, isn't it? How do we actually overcome life's darkest adversities? Well, the source material we're examining today, it doesn't shy away from this at all. It right away acknowledges the very real pain, that paralyzing anxiety, and the haunting past failures that can just weigh us down. It totally recognizes that feeling of being completely overwhelmed, or feeling like the people you love are growing distant, or maybe feeling like your past mistakes have permanently defined your future. It's a universal human experience, right? And our transcript today meets that pain head on with a pretty profound proposition.
I want you to just take a second to absorb this powerful quote directly from the text. You were not created to live in tears, sorrow, error, or failure. That really sets the emotional stakes right out of the gate, doesn't it? The speaker in the source material, who's presenting as a divine, unconditionally loving creator, is basically promising that victory over darkness isn't just some vague possibility. It's literally what you were fundamentally designed for. And this is absolutely crucial because it shifts the whole narrative from just surviving your pain to actively reclaiming your joy. The text insists that you're meant to radiate joy, and it offers a highly specific path to actually get there. So here is the structure blueprint the source provides to calm the soul. First, we'll look at the burden of adversity, then the anchor of faith. Then we've got a 3-step action plan: complete surrender, radical gratitude, and sharing hope. And finally, the promise of victory. Section 1. The burden of adversity, acknowledging life's pain. So before offering any kind of solution, the text makes a point to validate the heavy emotional burdens we all deal with. It details how pure hope is so often annihilated by lies, and it speaks directly to those melancholic thoughts that, keep you awake at 2 a.m. The language here is intensely specific, too. It talks about anxiety enslaving you and moments where your legs literally tremble at the mere thought of adversity. It even addresses that terrifying desire to just discard your destiny because past failures feel way too heavy to carry. It really paints a vivid picture of a soul desperately in need of rescue. Which brings us to Section 2, the anchor of faith, a foundation of trust. Having fully acknowledged that deep suffering, the text then introduces its core concept. It presents a supernatural remedy, using the metaphor of an anchor of faith. This is defined as an unwavering trust in divine protection that actually gives you the strength to persevere. But here's the interesting part. It goes way beyond just being some stationary anchor. It acts as a protective mantle, where the noises of the night just no longer frighten you. And even more actively, it describes the believer as a sharp spearhead that cuts through the winds, opening up pathways to blessings. So it's not just about hunkering down and surviving the storm. It's about having the power to pierce right through it. So you might be wondering, how do we actually acquire this anchor? Well, the transcript is highly actionable here. It basically says, here are 3 things you must do today to calm your soul and banish anxiety. The exact 3 things are: number 1, give your heart completely. Number 2, dedicate time to heartfelt gratitude. And number 3, share this message of hope. Let's break each of these down exactly as the source describes them. Step 1, complete surrender. This first step, it is definitely not a halfway commitment. It explicitly calls for you to give your heart completely, absolutely, without reservation. Complete surrender is what yields that solid foundation and enduring strength. But the text issues a pretty direct warning about the alternative. It says if you offer your heart only when it suits you, well, your life is going to be tossed about by the waves. Your emotions will run amok in these exhausting highs and lows. The framework is very clear. It demands an all or nothing approach if you want the peace to actually work. Step 2, radical gratitude. For step 2, the transcript instructs you to spend time in silence compiling a comprehensive list of blessings, and it's presented as a literal healing mechanism. Obviously, you list things like life, the air you breathe, and your current blessings. Surprisingly, it even says to thank the divine for expected blessings, so giving thanks before the miracle even happens. But here is where it gets truly radical. You are explicitly instructed to give thanks for your failures and your bitter trials. Why? because the source argues that immense wisdom and growth are forged almost exclusively through those hard, painful experiences. Moving to step 3, sharing hope. Once you've actually found that internal gratitude, the focus shifts entirely outward. The source observes that, a lot of people around us might appear perfectly content on the outside, but internally, their souls carry heavy suffering, and they teeter right on the edge of despair. The instruction here is to reveal your own inner peace to them. And here's why this is absolutely crucial for your own journey. The text promises that by sharing hope with those who are secretly hurting, you will be enveloped in peace and totally freed from anxiety. You literally heal yourself further by helping heal others. It's a really beautiful cycle. Finally, section 6, the promise of victory, emerging triumphant. So if you follow these 3 steps, surrender, gratitude, and sharing, the text is completely absolute in its assurances of a profound transformation. Just look at the shift. Before finding this faith, there were trembling legs. After, you're standing steadfast, completely ready to conquer obstacles. Where there was paralyzing fear, there is now unwavering faith. That deep, gnawing uncertainty about the future replaced with complete, unshakable resolve. It describes a journey from total darkness straight into ultimate strength. And the transcript essentially guarantees this outcome with this triumphant assurance: you are more than a conqueror through my love and strength. The source doesn't just promise internal peace, though. It actually goes as far as to promise external, supernatural miracles. It talks about opening doors, blessing your finances, and even touching the hearts of authorities and judges to act in your favor. It assures the listener that every single adversary that arises does so solely to be vanquished. It's an absolute guarantee of protection against literally any force that tries to bring you down. So, we've explored this deeply structured, really emotionally resonant framework for taking a soul from the absolute brink of despair to unwavering victory, all derived from today's incredible source material. The text challenges its reader directly, asking them to decide right now to not wait even one more day to let go of the pain. So, to wrap up our explainer today, I want to leave you with the very same reflective challenge posed by the text. Will you choose to anchor your faith today? Thank you so much for joining me on The Explainer, and keep seeking that knowledge.